Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talking Wellness here at Kiva Centers, where we will be speaking about matters related to wellness. With me today, my friends and colleagues, Vasper and Dalka. Hello.
Hi, Araldo.
Hey, so Dalka, tell us a little more of what we're going to be doing every week here in Talking Wellness.
So weekly, we're going to have conversations about everything that is happening, anything that has to do with wellness, any updates of any community events that are going to be happening here in the Worcester community, and just having simple conversations about mental health and the things that we do just to keep us grounded and, present in community.
Keeping us grounded, present, and in community. And I love that you started by speaking about those three topics: keeping us grounded, being merged in community. Vasper, let me start with asking you this. How do you maintain your wellness? How has community integration been part of your own journey?
Through community integration in my own journey, I've learned so much about wellness. So for me, at the end of every day, when I have so much going on in my mind, I keep a running list of all the things I'm going to do the next day. Instead of holding on to it, I'm going to put it down on a list. I'm not going to worry about it right now. And I think I've learned that really through community conversations, because initially I was always like, oh my God, what's going to happen if I don't do these things, right? If I don't focus on these things. And then I've had folks say, well, what about not worrying about it right now? What about putting it down on a list? So that's one of many strategies that I use for my wellness.
So wait a minute, you actually have an actual list that you write down everything you need to do in the next day.
Yeah, I'm like, this is not happening right now. I'm going to make peace with this right now and just have it down and know that future me is going to take care of this.
The future. So is the list for the very next day or for months to come? How does that work for you?
It's for the very next day. It's everything from like things that I have to do at work that are like high priority to like personal finances, to taking care of things at home, to taking care of my pet, to taking care of everything, the plants that I water, because I have a lemon tree and a few other great plants. And so all of that. And by having that list, I'm not carrying all of that.
So folks that were listening to us, myself included, that usually bring stuff and we're ruminating stuff in bed. If we're talking about maintaining your wellness, that might be a great tip to put everything on the paper and I'll deal with that tomorrow. How do you, Adelka, what do you do to prevent running thoughts to bed with you?
I'm very impressed that you have a list because I will lose that list. But a lot of the times I think it's easier for me to just have it in my mind, and then I'll do like a mental like checklist. Well, I'll just like go through everything that I have going on. But I'm going to try doing a list. I'm going to try not to lose it.
Try not to lose the list.
Or make a new list that says don't lose a list.
Yes. Then that just means I'm just going to have a paper trail of lists just reminding me. But that's very impressive. And I'm surprised you have a lemon tree. I've never heard of that either.
Yeah. It was actually gifted to me by Brenda, who's, such an important person in our community, and she gave it to me as a housewarming gift. She was like, this tree will grow with your life, with you professionally and personally, and it grows about like 4 lemons a year. It's such a beautiful reminder of the changing seasons too, and it really enriches my home environment. So
Adelka, you're very into plants yourself.
I am. That's why I'm so impressed, because I've been thinking about growing an avocado tree.
Okay.
And now I'm inspired to go on ahead and do my avocado tree.
Yeah.
So you will lose the list,
yes,
but you won't lose the plant.
I will not lose the plant.
Is it fair to say here in Talking Wellness that your plants are part of your wellness ritual or routine?
It is, because a lot of the times it's it allows me to put my time and effort into something very meaningful, and I can see it grow. All the effort that you put into propagating a plant, putting it into water, and then knowing how to fix the soil, wet the soil, have it moist before you even put a seed in, and different things like that. It's very, very thoughtful, the process. And it just makes me so happy to see things grow after so much effort.
You know, I learned a while back about the concept of creating the life one wants. And I believe the little things that I do for my household, for myself, for the people around me are contributing to creating the life that I want, what I want to wake up to in the morning. For you, your plans, for you, your notes. But if we think of the overall wellness theme and think of how things that we do to maintain our wellness, it's amazing. You with the plant cultivation, with your list. Question though, what happens if you don't get to do everything that's on your list in the following day?
So usually on that list, the things that are at the top of the list are kind of like the top priority, like, this will help you in this day. And then the things towards the bottom of the list are kind of like, okay, they're a little bit of a priority, but if you don't get to them, it's okay. You don't have to be so hard on yourself, Vesper. So it's like, I kind of remind myself of that. And sometimes, we talk about things like this, lists and all that, but it doesn't always have to be so formal. It can be kind of fun. Sometimes in parentheses, I might say like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Chill out. This is to just make it easier. So sometimes I write little notes that are reminders to myself on these lists, like right next to the task.
Have we ever been to your list at Dalco or I? I'm just wondering if we ever been like call it Dalco, Colorado. I'm just curious.
On a few occasions, if it's
there you go, Dalco.
If it's like this is a priority and we're trying to like think of a training or we have something coming up, I'm always like, okay, you need to call Geraldo like first thing in the morning to plan. And then sometimes it's like, oh, I'm gonna call Geraldo, and then if someone else calls me, I'm like, oh no, I still need to get to this priority task. So if I don't get to it in the morning, I'm like, okay, I'll get to it at least in the afternoon. So.
What I am loving about this whole idea of creating a list for you, talking about wellness, is for those folks who might be listening to us, who, like myself, bring those thoughts to their pillow with them. And that might just be a wonderful, clever way to not do it. And if we're talking about wellness, which we are in here, that's a great strategy. Great strategy. Yeah. And when did you develop that?
I developed it 3 years ago. And I think I developed it 3 years ago really as I started to focus on more tasks in my own life, as I started to take on more responsibility, such as plants and all the things we were talking about. And I was like, okay, you can't feasibly continue to just do things in this way. There has to be a little bit more organization and responsibility, which is so important. I think something for me when we talk about wellness strategies as well is that they don't have to be daunting. To realize that you're making this investment in yourself in this day is important, and to realize that the challenges of yesterday don't have to be the challenges of tomorrow. That's been something that's like so important for me.
Can you say those words again?
The challenges of yesterday do not have to be the challenges of tomorrow. And especially if it's professionally related and you're going into your personal day or personal life at the end of the day, and let's say you have a lot of work stressors, you're like, okay, those work stressors happened earlier. This is my time. This is the time I will take for myself. And when they are tasks of yesterday that you've accomplished and you had so many hard feelings or stressors leading up to those events, you're like, okay, those events have passed. I do not need to dedicate more mental or emotional energy to that right now, and reminding yourself of that. And sometimes I put those things on my list, the more emotional pieces.
Would you say that's a process of self-grace?
Self-grace, I'd say personal wellness, like maintaining personal wellness. And I would say it's in an aspect, it's also community wellness, because when I feel well and when I do things for my well-being, it works well for people in my family. It works well for my friends. It works well for people I work with, my community. I'm contributing in that way because when I show up in that way, I can support them. I can be a part of their support system and they can be a part of mine, because I don't want to be in a space where I'm like, okay, these are all of my stressors and I'm now giving them to you. But instead, I'm going to be thoughtful and I'm going to be like, I experienced this the other day, and I feel like I'm in a good place. And I'd love to just talk about these strategies and what we're feeling and going through. So it's more thoughtful because I put more thought into it.
I really appreciate that. And then earlier you talk about personal responsibility on your wellness. And now you're talking a little more about the responsibility that a well person has towards their community and people around us. Often people say that you can't bring water from an empty well. You probably have heard that. How do we fill that well? How do we have an abundance of water that not only we're doing well for ourselves, but we're also doing well for other people around us, community members, family members, colleagues. Even our plants can feel some of that energy when it's there. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. How about you, Idelka? What do you do to fill that well?
I also like to set boundaries for myself, and it's kind of how you were saying, just remind yourself that whatever happened, it happened earlier, not to take it home. So being a bit strict with yourself and setting those boundaries allows you to leave whatever happens in your professional life in the professional setting instead of, taking it home. So I'm very strict when it comes to setting those boundaries with myself. And I do the same thing with my personal life. Whatever is going on in my personal life, I leave it at the door whenever I walk in through the community, just so that I can be present for them.
All right. Here in Talking Wellness, we're talking about how our own wellness can affect the folks around us. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Wellness here at the Kiva Centers. And I'm with Vasp and Idelka. Hello, guys. And we are talking about wellness. And in the other segment, we were talking about how when I'm well, the folks around me can feel it, can sense it. I would bring a better sense of peace. There are things that I do for my own wellness that reflect how I am at work, how I am in my family, how I am with my community. And I think that's what both of you were beginning to speak about, right?
Yes.
Vasp, how is it for you when you are well, when the different dimensions of your wellness are balanced? How does that affect how you approach and work with other folks?
So when I spend time with my friends and family, I'm not giving them half of my attention. That's probably like one of the first things.
When you're not well, do you mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. When I am well.
When you are well, okay.
Yeah. But when I'm not well, I am giving them half of my attention.
Okay.
Or because the other half of my attention is being exerted into something. Because I prefer to give someone my full attention when I take it, especially if it's family or friends, especially if it's my personal time that I'm responsible for and that I want to take that time and really, spend it to the fullest. Because when you're truly living life, you are spending time with your loved ones and doing that. But when my mind is somewhere else, right, because I'm stressed out, because I am unwell, right, I might be struggling, then I'm only giving them half of my attention. So when I am well, it's the inverse. I am not giving them only half of my attention.
I actually was looking at research the other day on life expectancy and the connection. Friendships, family connection is related to that. So what you're speaking about, being well and being able to be with the people that I love and choose to have in my life, research backs that up. It shows that this is really, really important. How about for you, Dalka?
I'm a bit similar also. A lot of the times, if I'm not doing well, I tend to isolate myself just because I want to figure out what's happening. I want to make sure that everything is okay. And then I want to give my full attention to that. And my family and friends kind of remind me of that. They're like, Idelka, you need to snap out of it and you need to make some time for us. Come over, have dinner, do things with us. And then that kind of snaps me back into reality. And I'm like, okay, this is where I really need to set those boundaries when it comes to what it is that I'm doing in my professional life and then my personal life. And then a lot of the times I'm usually reading, and that's another thing. And then my family's like, you're always stuck in books. And it's like, but it's a break from reality and I get to live in somebody else's life. So a lot of the times it's more like isolation and just trying to figure out the next best steps for certain things.
Actually, it's wonderful that you're saying that, because SAMHSA has 8 dimensions of wellness established, and one of them is social wellness, which is the ability to building supportive and meaningful relationships, communication openly and respectfully, and feeling connected and supported in community. Discussion, if we weren't to discuss that, the social wellness component, building supportive, meaningful relationship. I heard that both of you talking about boundaries, and you and I have spoke about people that we choose to be in our life still, and people that we choose to not be in our life still anymore, or different roles that people play. In order for me to maintain my wellness, I don't eliminate folks from my life, but I put them in different roles. Like, you have a more distant role. You were my 911 call, or you're someone that I talk to when I need fashion. Dalka, someone that I message when I need fashion advice, for example. But that's also related to my social wellness. So let's talk a little bit about the umbrella of social wellness, building community, communicating what we need, setting those boundaries. How do you see your wellness in relationships to the communities that you chose to be part of today?
That is such a profound question. I think my wellness relates to the communities that I choose to be a part of, in the way of, I think I usually in my inner circle, I would say there are people who really seek to pursue either change in their community, change in their own life, really to benefit and serve their community, but also in the interests of themselves, within the means of healthy boundaries and understanding healthy boundaries. And I really use that term in the way of like, I think when we talk about what is a healthy boundary, because I think sometimes people are like, what do you mean by healthy boundary? What I mean is does it serve you? Does it serve your community? Does it work for your family? Does it work for the people in your life? Because I think when we don't set that for ourselves, we're doing a disservice to ourselves and others. So I think for me, thinking about the roles that these boundaries play and who I have in my life, it's folks who are again interested and invested in both themselves and invested in the relationship that we have. I think that's an important piece, because it takes 2 people. It has to work for 2 people in a relationship. It can't just work for one of us, right? Because otherwise it won't work for both of us.
I love that you're saying, but it also makes me think that when you say, does it serve you? Does it serve the community? So do you believe in order for us to start contemplating establishing those boundaries that we need to do some self-reflecting of what works for me and what doesn't work for me? Does it start, I see you're nodding, Dalka, so I'll ask you, does that process start with self-reflection and
Yes.
maturity of understanding who I am today and what serves my purpose and what doesn't?
It does. It definitely starts, for me, it starts with yourself and just doing a lot of self-reflecting and just realizing how you, yourself, your personality is also affecting the people around you. Because we can always think about ourselves, but if we notice a shift in the relationships that we have, sometimes I just like to sit back and think like, oh, okay, did I do something? Did I say something that I shouldn't have? Was I wrong in certain situations? And I think it's a two-way street. We want to give what we want to receive back. And a lot of the times, for me, I don't see that. Sometimes I try to push away my own friends and my family, and then without realizing how hurtful it could be, like, yes, I'm trying to get myself better. I'm trying to just do a lot of reflecting about like my own personal growth. But I also know that they want to be close to me. They want to be involved. They want to be in that journey with me, and just pushing them away, just for them, it just makes them not feel good. And there's a lot of self-reflecting when it comes to that.
I really, so it's also for folks to understand what those boundaries are, which goes to communication. I remember a time in my life, and I don't know if both of you also relate, but I remember a time in my life that I was existing. I wasn't necessarily living. So now the conversation that we're having here is living. It's connecting with what works for me, what doesn't work for me, what my purpose is, what I want in life, what I don't. But perhaps some folks who are listening to us today are in that stage that once I was, that I was just existing. I think Dr. Pat Diggins says coke and smoke, right? Just being there. If someone who's listening to us that are contemplating taking a next step on that self-reflection journey, what are some tips that you would have to share on your own journey to going from just existing to starting to think that life could be different?
I would first say it takes time, and be patient with yourself. I think it's a daily process. Sometimes we may behave in such a way that might cross a boundary for ourselves and cross a boundary for others. You may recognize it in passing. You may make note of it for later and be like, okay, I can do better next time. And eventually, over time, you might find yourself catching yourself in those moments. Sometimes people define that as healing. Sometimes people define that as recovery. For me, that process has been so instrumental in my life, because I think a lot of my struggles when talking about mental well-being and mental health, a lot of them really led to difficulties with boundaries, with respecting my own boundaries and being willing to cross them, because I didn't value myself and my own time. So by realizing, oh, I value myself, I value my time, I also value this person's time. I respect them. This is a mutual and important aspect of our relationship. By doing that, and by taking that mental note and really internalizing that process, I've been able to say, okay, this is how I'm going to stop myself in this moment. This is how I'm going to catch myself when I might cross that boundary for myself or for someone else.
And then just to piggyback right on that, it's allowing that yourself some grace, and just knowing that recovery and healing isn't linear. Some days are going to be worse than others. We all make mistakes, and just giving yourself that reminder kind of, lets you feel a little bit less stress about your own self journey, and just finding yourself and what works for you. And I do a lot of that for myself. It's just giving myself some grace and just reminding myself okay, yes, today was worse, but tomorrow it's going to be a little bit better. Let me try something different. But it does take some time.
Finding yourself or giving yourself some grace. I love that. And I love how, Idalka, you said that recovery isn't linear. There is a process for ups and downs. I like to think of a bumpy road that one must travel, that sometimes we might trip and fall. Regardless, we have the choice to stay there or get up. All right, welcome everyone to Talking Wellness here at the Kiva Centers with Idalka, Oraldo, and Vesper. Hello everyone. Welcome to Talking Wellness here at the Kiva Centers with Oraldo, Vesper, and Idalka. Hello, my friends. Now, we were talking, Idalka brought a wonderful point, which is recovery isn't linear. And Brenda, my great mentor, says that recovery is courageous decisions to make. I always wonder, where is the point for folks when they're starting to contemplate that life could be different? I had that point in my life when I started to think, hey, life could be different. I wasn't taking action yet, but I started to contemplate that life could be different. And there were tools and strategies that I've developed with the support of others. And it wasn't a decision like it's like, oh, I decided today that I will be better. It was like, maybe, just maybe, I don't have to struggle as much emotionally, financially, spiritually, and otherwise. I'm wondering if any one of you remember that part for you when you started to think that, hey, maybe, just maybe, life could be different. I know you and I, Vesper, spoke about choice earlier today, how blessed that we are that we have a choice of what we want to eat, for instance. For me, it wasn't always like that. There were many, many years where I didn't have a choice. And one of the many blessings in my well self is the choices I choose to work with in this amazing organization. I choose where I live. I choose who I can love. I choose what I want to eat. Not everyone has the opportunity, or not everyone is in the mindset of that yet. So some people might be starting to contemplate that life could be different. And I wonder if you have some points to speak on that.
I think for me, it was not ignoring realizing what I needed for myself and coming to learn what I needed for myself. I think early on in my journey, I attribute Kiva, particularly the recovery learning community, to my early journey, because I think when I started coming in, I didn't necessarily have immediate access to a lot of things. I didn't really have a presence of family, friendship, or a strong community support system. So those were a few things that really helped me. So coming into the Kiva recovery learning community, which was easy enough to do, and then realizing, oh, okay, I could actually engage in these support groups and talk about what I have going on, opening up around that, alleviated the emotional stress and really the mental toll on my wellness, right? By having kind of a third place, aside from work and aside from home, the third place that could really support me and the community that could really wrap around me. And I think by having that, I was then able to focus on, okay, what do I want for myself career-wise? What do I want for myself in my education, my own personal life? What do I want my life to look like? And I started to ask those questions. But at first, I was like, I don't even know where to start. I feel so directionless. And there was a direction. I learned about, becoming a peer facilitator. I started facilitating groups, and that ended up being a career trajectory. And then that led me into the career in peer support, really. And now, from a business management perspective, managing an organization. So a lot of that started from a place of emotional wellness and community first.
Wow. And it's so heart touching to receive your sharing, because you and I have known one another for a long time, and I remember the different person that you were in every step of the way. And when you said led to a career, and what a beautiful career that you've built for yourself based on that. And I want to talk a little more about what you said about the Kiva Centers and how that was supportive for your journey. But I want to hear, I'm not sure if Vidalka has something to add on that contemplation when you started to think that life could be different, before we speak about the Kiva Centers.
For me, it was a bit similar. Like how you were saying, a lot of it was just learning myself and learning what I wanted to do and where I wanted to take my path and my journey. And a lot of it got tied to community. I started talking to people. I started having these questions, and I had people to guide me. And every time that I listen to you tell your story, and then even Geraldo, it just warms my heart, because it's like a full circle moment. And ever since I started being a part of Kiva Centers, I get to see the growth with the community members that come in. I get to see just where the different paths connect folks. And then even though I'm here supporting community, I'm still learning from them. A lot of the times I hear their stories and I'm like, wow, I never really looked at it in that way. I never really knew that people were going through things like that. And it just warms my heart that I'm seeing such a rewarding journey, and then seeing every time when someone's progressing in their journey just makes me so happy to be a part of that.
You're talking about being proud and happy, and I think we should all be, because here, and when I keep saying here, because we are in the second floor of the Recovery Learning Community on 172 Shrewsbury Street. That sense of belonging and community that Vesper, you and I started more than a decade ago. Yeah. For our own journey of wellness, and to know that still exists, that people all over Central Mass can access groups and gatherings that can contribute to their own wellness, their own journey. And one thing it's important to note is that peer support happens in a circular way. So folks, when come to the ROC, not only come to receive support, but also to share some of their own lived experiences, and that there's magic to that. And that's what you're saying, Dalka, about being inspired by others.
Yes.
I like to say that people are experts in their own healing. So there is a house full of experts gathered to share tools about wellness and possibilities and what we want next for life. So those of you who might be inclined or contemplating being part of a community to talk more about wellness, to share your own wellness journey, your own process, we have groups Monday through Friday. Check our website for more information, kivacenters.org. Peer support groups that you can talk about wellness, you can practice different wellness tools, share some of your own with others. So for many of us here, myself included, Kiva Centers, this place was the second step in my recovery process. And I say second because the first is when I was starting to contemplate that life could be different. And that contemplation was important, and it was blurry too. I don't know about you both. Like, I didn't wake up when that list that Vesper spoke about and said, "Oh, today I'm going to recover and I am going to do well." No, it was like a maybe, just maybe. And I'm so glad that I was able to be in circles where I could be my authentic self and achieve the life that I have today. So, and this is all part of that wellness umbrella. And I love that we're speaking about wellness because there's different dimensions that composes us being in who we want to be, who we choose to be, and what is in alignment with our own purpose and with our own journey. So, Idalka, let me ask you this. Folks who might be contemplating, what are the hours for the ROC? How do they get more information?
Yes, of course. So Monday through Thursday, we are open from 10 to 4. That is the time where community comes and we just talk about anything. You can participate in any groups that we are offering, but even if you don't feel like participating in those groups, we are still around for to give peer support. We are still around to just have a simple conversation. Anything that you're looking forward for the week, anything that you want to do on the weekends, and then Fridays we have our more lighthearted days where we are open 11 to 5 and we do expressive arts, we do pizza and karaoke, we have game tournaments, but we're here as a community. We're here to engage with each other. We're here to talk about those difficult conversations that someone might not feel comfortable with having with their loved ones. But it's a judgment-free zone, and you are more than welcome to be yourself, to just express yourself however it is that you feel like is appropriate for you. And it's just a place where people can just have conversation and be in community.
Wonderful. And those of you who might be not watching from Worcester, we are in Worcester, Massachusetts at 172 Shrewsbury Street. However, we do have a beautiful physical center here. Our support doesn't limit to this location. Do check kivacenters.org for more information how you can connect. We do have mobile support. We have support online support. We have over the phone support in all different times in formats of supporting our community. And folks might even be more interested in getting more education around peer matters. So do check our website. If you don't have access to a computer, what's the phone number here, Daco? Do you know by heart?
No.
751-9600. It's been the same phone for a long time. 751-9600. If you don't have access to a computer, you can give us a call. And just so you know, say the number again, Vesper. Please don't forget our area code, which we did. So it's
508-751-9600.
508-751-9600 or kivacenters.org. Thank you for watching Talking Wellness here at the Kiva Centers. Hello everyone. Welcome to Talking Wellness here at the Kiva Centers. I'm your host Araldo with my co-host Dalka, and we're wonderful guests Vesper. Hey guys.
Hey.
And we are here weekly to speak with you about matters related to wellness. We have covered different areas and where we started. I want to start this part by remembering that SAMHSA has identified 8 different areas of wellness: emotional wellness, physical wellness, social wellness, intellectual wellness, spiritual wellness, and occupational wellness, and environment wellness and financial wellness. And the reason we're talking about wellness and not necessarily about recovery, which is equally important, is because in my view, I believe that now and where I am in my own process, there are different parts of me that need to be balanced for me to be okay. Sometimes my emotional wellness are fine, but if my finances are not, I'm not totally okay. So I've learned that there's the whole balance of things. And I love, Vesper, your list. Folks who didn't hear before, Vesper has a list of things to do at night before Vesper goes to bed and follows in the morning. But part of your list involves different components of those wellness. So we talked about your cultivating your plants and cultivating the folks around you, and you briefly spoke about your intellectual wellness and your environmental wellness. So how do you balance things out? I mean, I hear about the list, I hear about the plant cultivation, your interaction with your surroundings, the people that you choose in your life, your journey through Kiva into your career development. And what a career development, Vasp. It was beautiful. It has been beautiful to watch. Nonetheless, how do you balance all different parts of your wellness, especially with the busy job that you have? You have a very busy job. You travel all over. How do you keep that?
Oh, it's such a good question. You know, a lot of folks ask me this, and I have a similar answer. I usually say there are 163 hours in a week.
Okay.
Spending 8 of them a night sleeping, ideally.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Spending 8 of them during the day working and or more. Sometimes it can pass, and making sure that there's enough time that's breaking up the time between I'm working and sleeping for personal time. Whether if I have to integrate that in the morning or in the middle of my day, there has to be enough. If I have to get up earlier to watch my favorite talk show host say something, or if I need to wake up earlier to read my book or to take a time in the middle of the day to do that, and then making sure I have enough time in the evening to, whether if I'm hanging out with friends or spending time with family or doing that. So really breaking down, thinking about how does my schedule and how I break down my time serve me, not others. It's like, I understand these are priorities that might need to work for other people. However, my personal time, the boundaries, right, that we were talking about, boundaries for myself, this is what I need. My week needs to be broken down in this way, because if it's not, then it's not going to serve me in the ways that I need for my own wellness.
Interesting. And those 8 hours that you reserve for yourself, are you saying that they don't have to be 8 hours consecutive, that they could be couple hours in the morning for your favorite show, and then couple hours. So as long as they sum up 8 hours, is that how you're dividing your time?
Precisely. So if I know for example, I have to work later one day, and I'm like, okay, my day is going to really start more at 7 instead of it starting off at 6 a.m. You know, but if it starts off at 6 or even 5:30 a.m., I might be like, okay, I'm going to watch my favorite talk show host. I'm going to like play that in the background, or I will play some of my favorite songs on my playlist. I have a feel good morning playlist.
Yes, he does.
And then, well, yeah.
And it's good, right?
Yes, he does. And it's
so
really good.
So I'll play my feel good morning playlist, which I sometimes play here at the RLC. And then I'll usually make like French press coffee. I'll make my breakfast and just have a balanced morning. And I drink water first. So I drink water first, and I take in sunlight for the first few minutes of the day. And so by doing that, my body is naturally waking up. And that's actually a strategy I learned from Brenda.
Okay, so here's a tip. Drink water and get some sunlight first thing during the day. Is that right?
Yeah, first thing in the morning.
Now, let's talk about your feel-good song list. What is it called again?
It's just called Feel Good Mix. Yeah.
I walked into the RLC the other day. I have to tell you all this. So I walked into the RLC the other day, and there was this vibe. And I looked at Adelka and I said, Adelka, what music is that? And what was your answer?
Vesper.
It is so good. I think you should email info@kivacenters.org and ask for Vesper's Feel Good list. I'm creating a problem here. But if you really want a list for a morning to get your day going, water, sun, and a feel good playlist.
Preferably with Natasha Benningfield, which is how I kick off mine. So
okay, all right. No, how about you, Delka? Do you have any rituals?
I do. I usually start off my day pretty early, like how you were mentioning. So I usually wake up at like 6:30 in the morning, and I go to the gym. So I exercise, and the days that I do exercise, my day just feels amazing. It feels like I'm on cloud 9. It feels like I can just zoom through the day, and everything just feels so much brighter. And I have so much energy, and just my mental health is just wonderful that day. And like, that's how I know that I'm having like a bad day, if I don't make time to exercise. And then even if I don't do it in the morning, I'll do it in the afternoon. But just something about just waking up early and just soaking in all that early in the morning just makes it feel so much better. And then I do a lot of reading throughout the day as well, just so that I can mellow myself out, just so that I can have those 5 minutes to myself, so that I can, approach things at a calmer and have a clearer mind.
I envy that you all have those rituals in the morning. Now, if you, listening to us, is someone who just wakes up to the alarm, rolls out of bed, and is running to get your work and doesn't have any of those rituals, don't feel bad, because me too. I don't have any of those things. I don't have time for that. I do my bed every morning. I make sure I like to come back home to an organized place, but I love all this, and I'm going to learn some folks. But again, if you're listening to us and you don't have that routine, maybe, just maybe, you want to learn from Adelka and Vesper. Not for me.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, do I want to go to the gym? Do I want to do all those things? And I'll be like, no, let me just, just take my time, be at home, and then I'll go to work. Yeah. So.
And I have days where I fall out of routine, and I'm like, okay, how do we get back into routine, Vess? So it's definitely like, it doesn't last all the time, but it's like, okay, how do I get back there?
Wow. I'm learning so much, things that I do, that I don't do, on my own wellness journey. Everyone listening to us, this is Talking Wellness here at the Kiva Centers. Thank you for listening. Vesper, thank you so much for being here with Idalka and I. Those of you who are listening to us, Idalka and I will be here weekly with different guests.
Topics, guests, just having those simple conversations with folks and just inviting everyone to just ask us questions, anything that you would like us to talk about. We can certainly touch those points.
Or be here with us, right?
Yes.
We want to talk about your own wellness journey and what you do in that process. Thank you so much for listening to us. Here's Geraldo, Vesper, and Dalka on Talking Wellness at Kiva Centers.